So in the last class, we discussed about how to animate the car so that it can be able to actually move at will. So now we have what we're going to be discussing in this class is how to animate our background and also how to animate our camera. So we're going to be creating something like this. So if you look at this, we'll have the camera coming close and the background actually moving. So if you want to be able to create a very different kind of animation, where you have your camera coming very close and staying on the character or the car for a while, you can be able to actually create something like that. And you can achieve that if you look at this movement of the background. You see that the road is actually moving. Even if the car is actually in one spot, the movement of the background can actually make it look like it's actually moving. So we're going to learn how to do that. So I'm going to create a new So I'm going to create a new file, which is I'm going to go back to the one that we used before. Um, so this is the one we had before. So we're going to be creating some of all those things there. So first we're going to just design a very simple background that we can be able to animate. So we already have the sky background. Now we can be able to use this, but I would like to use a different background that will not interfere with this one that we already have here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down, select this last backdrop here, which is actually the sky and this floor that we'll have here. So for the floor, I think I'm going to change the color. This floor here, I'm going to change the color. Let me go into it. And you can be able to select that color, and I would like to make it a bit of green color. So now we have this. I want to actually create some other few things that we're going to need. So select this part and I'm going to create a new vector layer. I'm trying to create a background I'm going to animate. I don't want to animate this particular one. So I'm going to create that. Now when I want to design something in my vector, I'm going to use my brush because the brush will give me something very nice. Remember, this thing has been animated, the car has been animated already. So if you drag, you see that the car moving across this place. So the first thing we need to do is to go on to design the backdrop. That's the background we're going to animate. So the first thing I'm going to use this, and I'm going to create let's say a green color. So for this one, this is a black color. Let me create a new one and this will be green. Let me just change this. So I'm going to be using a very a bit light green, something like that. And I'm going to put this somewhere here at the top there. Now when you want to draw with the brush tool and you have this, so what you have to do, I'm going to be showing you a few tricks you can play. So I would like to start from here, and you can be able to draw something like this. So I'm drawing something that is not straightforward. So the reason why I can't see this is because this is turned to my camera, so I can turn on my camera here and I have this, so I can be able to actually go closer to this and continue doing whatever I'm doing. So the goal here is that I want to be able to create a very long backdrop that I can be able to animate, like I'm going to drag it across this place. So once I'm done with this side, I would like to bring it down like this. Now if you look at this, it looks scattered. So one of the things you could do is you're going to use this tool here, and you can select, if you come in here and select this, you actually see that these ones are not together. So you can be able to select here, bring them together. Now you have extra things here, you can select it and simply just press delete to remove them. So you can be able to have just a few of it, and then you can snap this in like this. So the goal here is just to make sure that they are close to each other. So we'll have this here, and you can be able to always select this, and if you look at here, this is also another place where we join things together. So we can be able to bring this up a bit like that. You can select things. I'm using my arrow keys to push it up. And you can also do the same thing here by selecting here, and let's select here and just delete here too. You can select here and just adjust it to be close to this. Now this will look chaotic to you, but once I'm done, you actually see what I'm doing here now. So I have this. Remember, I'm in this particular column, so I can be able to do a lot of things here. So I can just bring this up. And now let me use my fill tool and try to paint this. Let me make sure I'm selecting the right thing, and I think a part of this is not joined together. So let's select it and make sure that they're all joined together. There is no space. Look at here, there is no there's space here. So make sure they're joined together, and then you can take your fill tool. Let's still go and check. This one still does not have, they're not joined together properly. So make sure they're joined together. And once you put it, you see that you have something that looks like this now. So it looks very scattered, yes, I know. So, but let's just keep going. So I'm going to create a new one, and this one would be a very light green. Just some will give it some variation. So I'm going to draw something here. Let me start from here. If you want to be able to draw this properly, you can just push this to this side, just come in close, and I can draw from here. So I made a mistake over there, but we're going to correct it later. Okay, so we'll have this. So we can just come in here, select our contour point editor, and we can select this, and we can bring these ones down to this place. So we're gonna have something like this. And I'll quickly add another paint here. Let me make sure that I have this one. Let's select this one at the back. Let's select this one. Let's bring it down here a bit and paint it. So whenever it doesn't paint, it means that there is a gap somewhere. So make sure you actually put in the gap. Let's make sure that it's complete, and then we can be able to paint it. So once we paint, we can be able to select it and push it back to the place we want it to be. So you can always adjust this color to whatever you want it to be. So now it looks it doesn't look so interesting now. But now we need to add our road, so we're going to use the black color now. I think I will create this is the black color, so I'm going to use a rectangle this time around to create a black color. So color, this is going to be the road. So first, let me make sure that I select make sure I'm selecting this thing. I'm going to call it the backdrop. You can call it background, and I will select everything on it, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to push it up a bit. So let me use this to push it up a bit. So we want the road to be from somewhere here down to that place. Now I'm going to get my rectangle and make sure I'm in my black, and I will select this, and I'm going to just draw a rectangle over this here. I'm going to bring this just exactly to that level. So once you want to appreciate this, if you enter into your camera, you actually see this is what you're going to be seeing, and it looks quite different from when you are looking at it from the other side. It looks more interesting right now. So I'm going to go back to this so I can be able to be seeing everything I'm actually doing all at once. So I have this here. So depending on how long you want your animation to be, that's how your background should be. So your background can actually go as long as you want it to be. So depending on what you're actually aiming for. So now we can be able to go on to other things. So I'm going to just come in here and add the tiles for the road. So I'm going to create a new color style. So I'm going to get this, and I have my rectangle, and I'm going to just draw just a very tiny one. Let me make sure. Oh, sorry. This is white. You drag it down to make it white. So we'll have this. So we'll have this here now. So you can always copy and paste it. And once you do that, you can be able to lock it. Just bring it here. Now, like I told you, if you want to be able to make sure that everything you're doing, you can turn on your field grid to make sure that you're on the right track. So if you are confused about what you're doing, let me just turn off this car for a while. And okay, let me see what I have here. It is actually hidden. Let me bring it back. Let's go back to the backdrop. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and let's make sure we're actually on one particular line. So we can be able to select this, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to push this so that it's easy for you to track where you are at a time, at a particular time. So we'll have something like that. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and I have here, I think I'm going to be giving it about 3 spaces. So we'll have this now, and you can just put that. So if you want to be able to speed up your work, you can simply select this whole sheet, select that and that, and you can just do Ctrl C and Ctrl V, come close, and you can be able to drag them across this axis. So I think I have that. Then let's go for next one. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, do the same thing. So whenever you want to move it, make sure it turns into 4 arrows before you actually start moving. So unfortunately for us, we don't have this appearing at this point, so we can just randomly use it because it doesn't go beyond that place. So let me just select this, and that, and just Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Whenever you want to move it, you can use your arrow keys to actually move it out a bit so that it gives you what you're looking for. And Control C, Control V again, and we have something like this. Okay, so I think we have exceeded our points. So we can just select these ones and delete them for now. We can still be able to use them. Let's use it. So we can select this and elongate this to here, and also select these ones. Although these ones will be difficult to select though. So we can just leave it like that. So right now we can be able to select all of this. Make sure on your background layer you can select all of them, and you can right click them and actually group them to become one if you want them to be or worked on as one. So if you want only the road, you can select just the road itself. So although they are all overlapping because they're in the same layer, so it will be difficult for you to select it. So if you want to select them differently, that means that you have to make sure they are in different layers. So but right now I'm going to just right click and group them to become one. So right now it means that this everything here, I think I'll have to go back a bit. Let's select this and push this one down. So this has to be under it. All right, so we'll have this now. So there's a problem here. I'm trying to solve that. So we have this part. Select here and enter here. We need to bring this one down a bit more. Okay, whenever you do that, it cuts off. Okay, so I've adjusted it. Okay, so now let's go into our camera view here so that we can animate. So this is our view, and this is what you're going to be seeing. So the first thing we want to do is that when you want to animate things like the background and the camera, you are going to use this our animate tool. So we're going to actually utilize that for our animation right now. So to do that, I'm going to first start with extending our cells. So this is our cell, our so we'll have this cell which is the background. So if you actually go to the next place, you see that it's no more there. So to extend it, you select the first cell that you have created, and then you can just drag it with that tool there and you extend it. So let's say for example we'll drop it somewhere here. If you want to elongate your animations, you can select all of them and still drag them all to elongate it to whatever you want it to be. Now one more thing we need to bear in mind is this camera here. When we start animating our camera, we need this our backdrop to be bigger. So because if not, when the camera zooms in or zooms out, we'll start seeing the backdrop that like it will no more be showing. We're going to be seeing a blank screen instead of our sky background. So what I need to do is select this background here, that's the sky, and this ground here, and just go over here, select this, and I'm gonna make them to be a bit bigger, just a tiny bit bigger. So this will save me. The reason I'm doing this, so it saves me from making more of this, so I can be able to animate just this one instead of animating even the sky and everything there. So once I do that, I can just simply delete this. So I'll just come in here and let me go back to my animation here, and now I have my backdrop all appearing different in all the scenes here. So now let me switch back to my camera view. I'll switch to my animate tool, and now this is where I start from. So I'll say I'll just move this. I'll just move it for the first time. Even if you don't move it, you can always click here and it will just keyframe it immediately to tell it that at this point, this is how we want this floor to actually be, or this backdrop to actually be. Then we'll now move to where our animation ends. So you can actually do it in different points. Imagine if this car was moving and then stopped, you can be able to stop somewhere and move it and then stop at a particular time. So we're going to do something that looks like that with our camera. So we can stop here now and say, okay, this animation keeps on going. So if you look at now, when I'm moving, it's moving randomly. But if you want to lock it to move at a particular spot, if it will be jumping now. So if you want it to be moving at a particular spot now, like if I'm moving, hold shift, and it will actually give you a more straightforward movement that is in the same spot. So you have this now. So I've animated. So if you actually go back now, you actually see that your backdrop is actually moving. So if you look at now, is what you're going to be seeing. So unfortunately, we're having some issues over there. So let's go correct those issues. So I'll have to turn on this so that I can be able to see what really caused that. So I think this here. And then we can just drop this here. Don't move this with your animate tool. You're going to be using this to do that. So we just have that. And we can just save it. So now let's go back and go back to our camera, and then we'll have this. And that's simply how you can be able to animate your backdrop however you want. So if you notice any problem, let's say for example, if you look at here, this sky is actually too far, we can be able to adjust that later. So now let's go into our camera, because we expanded our backdrop, that's the sky itself. So we're going to be leveraging that in our camera. So this is the basic background animation. So if you have any background, whether it's skies, you have buildings, you have human beings, you can use it to actually animate them to be able to move. In fact, you can use this technique to to animate a human being to actually move, act as if it's moving. You make the character to be walking in one spot, and then use the background to move in the opposite direction, and to actually make that character to appear as if it's actually moving. So now I'm going to go into my camera. So I have my camera here, and I want to animate my camera. So I have this here, and I can just come in. And now one thing you need to learn is what we call the toggle hold keyframe. So it's a way of being able to toggle an animation where you have an animation and that thing remains the same for a period of time. So let's say for example, I want, when I start this animation, I want my camera to come close to this guy, all right, and stay the same till about the 30th frame before it will zoom out. That's what I want to do here, all right. So if that's what you want to do, you can be able to achieve that. So now I'm going to come in here now and do something. So I will say, okay, go into my camera, and you see you can scale it, you can position it. So if I use my position, you can actually do something like this. If you look at that. Now, controlling this camera is a bit tricky, so you have to actually be careful when you're doing that. So if you move towards the left, it goes towards the left. But sometimes it will act in a very funny way if you have not really gotten used to doing that. So you can actually move it a bit up like that to something like that. So right now this is the way it is. So now let me just drag it. So Opentoonz always save itself, so you always allow it to save. If not, you can just press S to Control S to save it yourself. So if I come in, so if you look at here, from here to here, I want this animation to remain the same. If not, if I come to 30 and move it from here to here, let's say for example I move it now to somewhere here. Let me go back. I just move it somewhere here. Now what it will do is that from here to here is already moving from here. Like from here is already moving all the time. And that's not what I want. I want it to remain the same from here to here. So what I'll do is that I'll just go over to it and I will click on this. And this is what we call toggle hold keyframe, so that the keyframe remains the same. The camera position and everything about it remains the same from here to here. So now I want, when it's over here, just immediately from here, I want it to quickly zoom to it at that 6th frame. I want it to just quickly zoom to my car. So I'm going to select my animate tool, and this time I'm going to use the zoom tool. So I'm going to zoom. So you see now, whenever you're moving this, I'm moving towards the left now to actually have this. I'm having that now. So if you look at what is happening, I need to also work on the position too. Let me do that again. Down. It's difficult to work on this. If you click on it, drag it down. I'm dragging it down to be able to go down. So it's just like that. It's a bit tricky to move. So I have this now. So if you go back, if you look at what's happening, from here to here, my animation remains the same. But immediately I'm here, it just switches to the car. Now, one of the things I just noticed right now is that my background, the floor is too dark, and the tires of the car is not showing properly. So I will have to go to this tool and go back to my backdrop, select my background, the black color for the background, and I will make it a bit lighter. So I have something like this so that my car will actually be showing the black tires. So I'm going to just come back here, and if you look at what is happening, okay, let me just go back a bit. So this is what you're going to be seeing. You have this, and then it comes close, and as it's going, we can be able to actually follow through with it. So let's say, for example, we want to also follow it there. So remember your animate tool, we're in position now, so we're going to position it. Sorry, we are meant to be in our camera, so you can select your camera. Either you select it from here, or you come and click it over here. Any one you do will actually work. So I can now go back, Control Z. Whenever you move it and it doesn't move well, just Control Z on it. It's a bit tricky to control. So I have this now. So from here to here, you have something like this. So we'll have that. Now we want it to actually zoom out a bit. All right, so let's go zoom it out a bit, because this doesn't look so cool. So we just zoom it out a bit, and we can do that by animate tool, and then we'll do our scaling, and we can be able to scale out. So now we upscaled too much, so we can do something like this. Okay, we'll have this, and the position, we can be able to position. So we'll have this now. So if you look at from here to here, it just goes in closer to the camera. So let's start from the beginning and see the car moves. All right, so if you look at what happened now, there is a problem. One of the things that we forgot to do was to toggle our hold keyframe for this one. So we didn't toggle our hold this one. So you see, from here to here, it just did the same thing. So we can actually come over here and say, okay, we want you to not go too far from it. Let me see how far he actually went. He went out completely, so, and it was very close here. So let's say we somewhere here, we want it to also be able to be still close so that it doesn't zoom out very fast. So we'll have something like this. So if you move now, let's drag this out. Just drag this. It slowly comes out, and then bam, it comes out completely, and then we'll have something like this. So we have this now. We can actually, from here to here, we want to toggle that keyframe. We want to hold it. We want to toggle hold that keyframe. So let's say about in the frame 100 or thereabout, I can just come in here and click on this to remember that it's actually there. Let me select this and make sure that I'm in the right place. Yep, in the right place. Just okay, so we'll have this. So from here to here, it's this way, and when it's about here, let's say we actually zoom in a bit. So it all depends on the story you're telling. So if you're trying to tell a story of something and you need to actually come close to actually talk about what you want to say, that's you can actually just go ahead to do that. So it's all about what you're trying to depict in your animation. So we'll have this happening there. So I think I would like to have this come out a bit, just a tiny bit. Let's do the scaling out so that we can see a bit of the sky. Okay, so we'll have this now. So if you actually play this animation, what you see, okay, so there is something that I just noticed now. So let me just check it out and see. Okay, from here to there, okay, we'll have this. So we need to work on this camera here. So let's keep it there. So make sure that it doesn't reveal the end of this thing because it's not going to look nice. So you want to just make sure you don't do that. So that's the whole thing. So let's just replay. So you see animation comes in, and then you have this going in there. So it all depends on the story you're telling. If you want to be able to make it look in a different, in a particular perspective, you can be able to, do that. So that's basically how you can be able to animate your camera and your background to suit it the way you want it. So if you have seen the way I actually animated, design the background, you can actually use your brush to design something and have it, look nice. So once you turn off this particular, if you turn on your camera view, you can be able to actually see it the way you want it to be. All right, so I think that's all we are going to do for today.